Good morning. Hey, everyone. I am here with the queen of Blaxit, the queen of Blaxiting, Crishan from Blaxit Global. Blaxit Global, the podcast, Blaxit Global, the community, Blaxit Global, the movement. Crishan Wright.
Hey, y'all. Happy Sunday.
Hey. Hey, so happy to have her with us. It's going to be a good day. We're going to talk about a bunch of things, including Krishan's own process of getting ready to move abroad. Because she's going in about a year. So the other day, someone reached out to me and said, I want to hear from more women as they're getting ready to move abroad. So whoever you are, I don't remember who that was, but whoever you are, I hope you're in here watching because this is it. We're doing this today.
This is for you.
It's for you. Crishan is here for you. Okay. For those of y'all that were here last week and were talking trash to me about my mic, I want you to know I still don't like you. But I got a new mic. There's a new mic. So if there's any sound issues, it's on your end. I don't even care. If there are any sound issues for the rest, as much as I paid for this microphone, if there are any sound issues for the rest of our lives together, it's on you. I don't even care. All right, but there's a new mic. Don't be out here bothering me now. All right. Okay, now let's get into it. Okay, so if you don't know Crishan, I gotta get this higher, fix it. I gotta do something. I don't like this.
You look good.
Thank you. So there's a mirror behind me, so it feels like I'm in a fun house. Funhouse cheetah.
That's okay because we're gonna have a fun conversation.
We are gonna have a fun conversation.
They're lighting it up.
Oh yes. Hey Janice. Hey. Okay, so my mom has guests coming over. I have been live for 2 minutes and the doorbell rings. First person was supposed to be here till 11:30. It's 11:05. How? And I bet you they gonna come in loud. Just loud.
Coming in hot.
We've been online for 2 minutes.
2 minutes. It's okay. We're gonna roll with it.
I only needed 2 hours. I told my mom I need 2 hours of silence. And this morning she was like, my friend's coming over. Right?
And you know how black people roll. Hey, we all gonna be live. We live.
I asked for 2 hours, and she was like, but she's coming over.
We live.
You know, when you're in somebody else's house, I'm gonna tell y'all, when you're in somebody else's house, you got to live how they live. Was that the FedEx man? Was that wasn't a guest? It was a FedEx man. Oh, it is somebody. Hi, cousin. You can come. It's my.
Hey, cousin.
Oh, I love you. Love you. All right, now everybody can hear everything you say. So y'all got to go somewhere. Unless you want your conversation on the internet. You can talk, but everybody's going to hear you. It's fine. Okay. That's my mama's cousin. Haven't seen her in a while. All right. Okay, so what are we talking about? If you follow Crishan's story, her dramatic story, a single mother who's just looking for a better life for herself. She just wants that child out her house. And she wants to move on to a better life abroad. I'm sorry, I just tear up. What are we talking about?
I'm like, oh, I am pretty fond of the children. I just definitely am going.
And Crishan had her hopes and dreams set on moving to Costa Rica.
Ooh.
And it's just, it didn't work out for her.
No.
The way she planned. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is the story of a woman who is leaving the U.S., has a date picked, waiting for your children to be up and out, your daughter to be gone.
Yep, last one.
And then she's moving abroad.
Yes.
She's seeking her freedom. And she's doing it pretty publicly. Because she has Crishan runs a community, Blaxit Global Passport, which if you want to join, there's a link. Okay, so Crishan runs a community for people who want to do the same thing we're talking about here, people who want to move abroad. Crishan's community is a loving and generous community that also allows men. So, if you're a man, and all the times we tell you you can't get into Exodus Summit, you can get into Global Blaxit Passport. Blaxit Global Passport. I am dyslexic this morning. I've said the wrong thing like 6 times. Blaxit Global Passport is for you. If you want a supportive community, if you say we never do anything for men, we don't, but we know people who do. You're welcome there. But you don't have a lot of men over there right now, do you?
I have a few, and we are actually, I think it's launching in September. It's definitely when the communication is coming out. But we are launching a men's group. And it is not going to be run by me, actually. So Michael Ruth, who was a guest on the Blaxit Global podcast this season, who everyone definitely loved and responded to his episode. He lives in Costa Rica, and he is being so kind to be the leader of this men's group. So I know the men are out there. I know that they have been yearning for some type of safe space for them. And so they will have that within Passport for their men's group. They will work out when it happens and all that other stuff, but I'm sending out the interest survey in a few weeks.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay. Yay. I ain't got nothing to do with y'all, but Crishan is a lovely,
we got to show, and I'm funny with this one, right? And I think it's probably because I have children of both genders. And so I'm like, okay, the women, we are out here in full force, right? We know that, our brothers are out there, not as much. I mean, I think they're out there. That I would say this for the podcast, they are often the ones that require a little bit more nurturing. And I think it's just knowing that we're just different. And so that's why I was like, look, I know you're out here. I don't have to lead it.
No.
Let me get somebody who understands.
Yes, nurture yourself.
Right?
Nurture each other. Yes, do it. I love it. I love it. Far away from me. Do that. I love it. Okay, but what we're here today to talk about, this is the longest intro ever. What we're here today to talk about is really Crishan's, what life has been like as she's been getting ready, because it's going to be different for everybody. And her process has been long. So how long have you been in the move abroad process, would you say?
From the time I thought it, or like when I
thought it was good.
Okay, so long story short, I grew up in the Bronx, Co-op City. Yay. And it was wonderful. But it was at that point in time in my life was when I said, hey, my life plan when I was a little girl was I was going to move abroad and be a corporate lawyer at 26, living in New Zealand. That was my life plan. I told my mom, I told my dad, I used to journal it for years. Then I went to college, upstate New York, did not study abroad because I worked full time and I went to school full time. That's how I put myself through school. Went to grad school, got pregnant with my son, graduated, subsequently got married. I was like in the recesses. But before I got married, Miles was probably about 2 at the time, my oldest. And everything was jumping off with the elections and a Bush. And I was in politics for 10 years of my career. That's how I started my career in New York State politics. And I said, I can see where this is headed. Like, I got to get out. So that was the first time I got my passport and my son. And I still have a picture of us getting our passport pictures because I was like, anything jump off, I want to be able to get the hell out of here. So that was 20 years ago. And then subsequently had another child, got divorced, and, having minor children and their parent is still in the US. I was like, okay, you know what? this is going to have to be once the nest is empty type of thing. So the nest will be fully empty in 2023. My daughter will be going to college. We've already, gotten all that other stuff done, and so she's ready. I just picked her up last Saturday from an equestrian program at UMass. And so we are in the final stages. We are in the home journey. But it was that trip in 2017, or yeah, 2017 when I went to New Zealand finally. And it was like breathing rarefied air. That's when I knew. And I said, you know what, Crishan, doesn't matter all the stuff that happened in the past. Always thinking it's going to be some ideal job, some ideal man, some ideal set of circumstances. You can be your own hero in this. And that's when I said, okay, this is it. But that's the short version.
All right, I like it. I like the short version. It's nice. It's good. Like you knew what you wanted
Mhm.
for a long time, and I think a lot of us have like, I'm speaking for myself now, y'all. It's confession hour. We have like a goal or a dream, and you work on it for however long that is, maybe a month, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, and then you just forget about it or you move on to some other goal and dream. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm claiming that for myself. There's nothing wrong with that. But to see somebody have a goal or dream for a long time and then take that all the way to the end and then see what that means, right? You went to New Zealand and you weren't like, yes, now I need to move to New Zealand, right? But you were
Yeah, I
like,
get it because I had, my kids were still both teenagers at that time. And so, they're 5 years apart. So my son is going to be 22 in a few weeks, and my daughter will be 17 in a few weeks. They're both September babies. But yeah, I was just like, okay, you know what? Circumstances are what they are. I can't leave. So what I decided to do was, what is it that I would need to have in order to be allowed in the country? So that I did do. I was like,
mhm,
okay, what are because I know a lot of countries have means tests. And when years ago, when Miles was 2 and we went to Canada, that was the very first country I had gone to. And I wanted to move then. Again, this was like 20 years ago. I was like, oh, and I had to have a certain amount of money. I didn't have that money. I was still, paying student loans, had a newborn, I wouldn't say poor college student, but poor grad student. So it wasn't in the plan at that time. And so I was like, oh, but I remembered, countries have means tests, how much
mhm.
can you have to support yourself? And New Zealand's was pretty high. And so I looked at it and I was like, okay, you know what? It's 2017. By 2023, I can do that. And so that was the goal, right?
Okay.
That is not necessarily where my destiny is going to be this time around, but I'm sure we'll get to that in the conversation.
We will. We will. Okay. So when you told your children that you were going to be up and out, even though it was out after they were going to be out of the house, how did they respond to their mother living a far away, a plane ride away?
That's a great question. So anyone who knows me knows that I wouldn't say I've done a lot, right? And probably with someone looking at the outside from the outside, it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
So if I like something and I'm passionate about something, I pursue it.
Right.
Oftentimes, it doesn't matter if I know how to do it. If I want to do it, I know I can do it. So, like, I
Right.
was in politics for 10 years. I was in television for 3 years. I was in healthcare, all this other stuff. So my kids oftentimes will say, like, when I do things or I'll show up places, they're just like, oh yeah, it's mom doing mom stuff. Right. So when I say I was moving around, they were like, okay, yeah, all right, whatever. My son, he's in music. Actually, my son Miles is the musician behind the music for the Blaxit Global podcast. And so he is all about, like, oh yeah, mom, move abroad. My daughter, on the other hand, she's very much a mama girl. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I talked about it, I think in season 2, where she was like, okay, you know what? I know you want to do New Zealand, but that's a bridge too far, right? That's 29 hours of flying. My first time leaving the nest, I can't have you more than a day away. And also I have my mom who is in her 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, you know what? I gave it some thought. And I was like, okay, everybody's on board because I've been nurturing them for many years. This wasn't like I'm doing it tomorrow. I know my family, right? I know they needed some time, some guidance to get there. There was a lot of resistance in the beginning. Where we are today, and of course, externally, a lot has changed. So people were like, can I come too? But at that time, I needed to understand what the concerns were, where they were coming from. Just in terms of my immediate family, right? Not external family, not friends, not anybody else who's, I'm not really concerned with. So my daughter said that she wanted me closer, which is why I started to look at closer countries.
Mm-hmm.
And I changed my consideration list because I was like, look, 4 years of college, 4 years isn't going to kill me. I've been on this journey for 20 something years, right? I'm 48. I'll be 49 by the time she moves abroad, right? So 4 years, if I start in another country and then either end up in New Zealand or do something else, there's 195 countries. Like the world is my oyster. So now I'm thinking at this stage, and you've seen the evolution, I'm thinking bigger. I'm taking, the guardrails off. But that didn't happen overnight. Where I was when I started Blaxit Global, or even this journey to where I am today, vastly different. And it probably will be different next year, right? It's a mindset shift. And so that's what I would say for anybody who's listening to this conversation, definitely put in the time to think about what it is that you want for your lifestyle, how for the people that, you care near and dear about, they'll voice concerns. I'm sure they'll have questions and you'll find the best path forward, but it'll happen.
Okay. Do you have a new child approved place that you're willing to share with us?
A child approved. Oh yes, I was like a child approved. So I did my scouting trip to Costa Rica in October of last year, which did not go well. But that's okay because not every place that you find out about or looks good on paper isn't going to speak to you. I know several people who live there who've been on the show, but it wasn't right for what I needed, right? So I moved to my next country, and that was Portugal in April. Had a fabulous scouting trip, and so I wound up not going to my third, which was Italy. So Portugal is where I'm staking my claim.
Okay.
6 hour, right, from Portugal back here. So definitely not 29 hours. The euro and the dollar are now looking at each other like, hey, hey. So looking good from a financial perspective. And it's so funny, like my son is gung ho because he's like, oh, you're going to be in Europe? Great, right? In Portugal, I have access to the continent. So that's been on my list. But yeah, I'm really excited about it. And now she's like, well, I think I could be okay with you moving to New Zealand. I'm like, little girl.
Don't talk anymore. Don't talk anymore. Okay.
Oh, I see. Is that Halisi in the comments?
Probably. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey.
Yep. I actually want to stop for a second. Talk about Simi. Simi had a dream of living in Canada when she was a child, and just got Canadian citizenship.
Wow, that is awesome.
Yes, because citizenship.
Yes. I'm looking forward to that citizenship. I'm going to seek citizenship in Portugal.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah. Yes, it's 5-year residency and a path to citizenship. And so that is very important to me. So I will be there at least long enough for that. Probably longer, but you never know. Never know.
Yeah, my mom just applied for her Jamaican passport. So and she sent me, when they're like real deliberate, but they don't say what they're doing. I came to visit her, and so I'm here. She's packing to move. She's moving to Merida next week.
Oh my gosh.
So she was like, come get your stuff. So I came to get my stuff out of her house and to help her sell things and do things. If you're in South Florida and would like furniture, yeah,
Come
bed,
on
dining
through.
tables, more bookshelves than you can imagine.
Wow.
Shoot me a message because this stuff must go. Um, but I got back on my bed is a copy of my father's birth certificate, and she left me a copy of. She's like, I'm gonna put a copy of my birth certificate in here too, and I was like, why would like the only reason I would ever need my father's birth certificate is to try to get citizenship in Antigua where he was born, and I was like, but I see you, sis. I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. So that's definitely on my potential to do list. We'll see.
Yes, yes. Get it. Get
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Um, how are you feeling about the prospect of like leaving?
mm, really excited.
Okay.
It's because I'm a forward thinker, so I like to play the long game.
Mm-hmm.
But actually having a goal, especially a goal that's been this far out and has had fits and starts and come through with different iterations, and then to be public about it, which is not normally how I operate. Um, it's exciting. I've had to do certain things as of late to stay focused and motivated.
Mm-hmm.
And so those have helped me. Is it all right if I go into a little bit of
Yeah.
that? So, just to give people some backstory, because I know a lot of people probably don't know, how the Blaxit Global podcast started and Blaxit Global as a platform. But long story short, in 2020, right, we know what 2020 was. I left a job previously, a few months before, and started a new job. I had gone to New Zealand and Australia because that was my like second scouting trip um, in February of 2020. Was all excited, came back. We all know what happened in March. And I had just started a new job. I think it was 3 weeks on the job when, got sent home because of the pandemic. And maybe 2 months later, we all got laid off. So I was like, oh, crap, right? And then, the rest of 2020 showed itself. And I got into a dark space. I knew that 2023, right? I had, right, 3 years to go, but those 3 years felt like 30. And having something on my heart for 20 years, and then now, even though it's 3 years away, now it feels like even more time.
Mhm.
I sank into a really, really, really deep depression. And wasn't sleeping, wasn't eating, doing all those things. And so I got to a place and I had to realize, right? I had to have a come to Jesus moment that, my family depends on me, right? I have my children and I couldn't allow myself to go there and stay there. So I had to redirect that energy. I was like, okay, Crishan, what do you spend most of your time doing? Well, investing or thinking about money, right? And planning my Blaxit. So really, it was going to be one or two things. And a friend of mine who I met in a contest when I had a different business a couple years ago, she has a podcast. Shout out to Kimberly Sumter, who is the host of the Sisters Connect podcast. We were in a competition years ago for an award, and so she has subsequently started a podcast. And so she was coaching. So she was like, "Oh, Sean, you should do a podcast." Because coincidentally, when we were competing, she had a candle making business, and I wanted to launch a podcast about women entrepreneurs. This was like 8 or 9 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so Kim won. I think she won like $10,000, right? I got an iPad and some other stuff, right? It was great, really great. We stayed in touch. And so I was like, Kim, that ship done sail, girl. We good. And I was like, well, what am I going to talk about? And I remember I went to bed that night, and the next day I got up and I'm like, oh, I know what I want to talk about. Like, I want to talk to Black expats who are living abroad, not knowing a Black expat. And we're in a pandemic, no one can travel.
Okay.
But I was like, this is my idea.
All right.
From idea to when we went live was about 3 weeks. So, if looking back on it now, I'm just like, how the heck did I pull that off? But I did, right? But it's just been this this thing in me to kind of think about the journey and think about, how it is that I want to create the safe space. I wanted to create something that people could see themselves in. Didn't matter what the circumstances were. Didn't matter that I was depressed, right? It mattered to me to see someone else. And that's how I've always pulled myself through. Seeing
Mhm.
someone else do something either that I want to do or have this spirit or drive. And when I looked and Googled about expats, I never saw us. I never saw us. So I
Mhm.
knew we were out there, right? And I wanted to elevate and I wanted to amplify and I wanted to breathe life into it. And then I wanted to have a community for people like me, right? Who hadn't made the journey yet and wanted to connect with people. And that's how I wanted to create this space. And then everything kind of evolved from there. So now, where I look at where we are and how we're going to go forward, I'm excited about the journey. I'm excited about the community in which we're living and breathing. I've had you on the show. I think it's a marvelous thing out there. I don't know if that answered your question because I know I went off on a tangent.
You're good. You're good. You're good. What?
Y'all will keep me honest because I get excited when I talk about this stuff, and then
It's okay.
I'll take it in a different
We got
direction.
we got time to hit everything. All right. So you're getting some love in the comments. Blaxit Global is a really good podcast to hear people speak their truths, and I think that one of the I'm torn on this. There are a lot of things in the moving abroad arena that I'm really conflicted about, and one of them is the idea that expats are only sharing like the good things. I hear that sometimes, like, oh, you guys are only talking about the awesome things that happen and like how, but you never talk about the bad things. And sometimes there's not a lot of bad things to talk about, right? Like, so, and so I hear that and I understand what people are saying. And they're like, you're making it sound better than it is. And I'm like, I can't speak for everyone, but for most of us, there's a lot more good, right? There may be a bad thing every once in a while, but like you, I think people are like, if you're not telling us that like you got mugged on Saturday, then you're lying. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, well, I didn't get mugged on Saturday, right? Like people all the time are like, well, you live in Mexico, it can't be safe. And I'm like, nowhere is like safety is an illusion.
Exactly.
But nothing bad. Like you're looking for me to tell you something negative, and I don't have the negative thing to tell you.
Yeah.
So a lot of these spaces where you hear people who are living abroad, you hear really heartwarming stories,
Mhm.
or stories how they left a really negative situation and moved into a much more positive
Mhm.
situation. And sometimes people are like, oh, that can't be real. But sometimes that's just movement, right? Like if you're in a really negative situation, you're probably not going to move to a more negative situation by choice, right?
Yeah, and you're
But,
not going to be in a situation where you're going to be, shot by the police for just being your black self.
right? Like we're probably not going to, if we have a choice, we're not going to be moving to places where we feel unsafe, where we are unsafe for being who we are, right? And
Mm.
so there is that tension of like, it sounds too good to be true. You're not telling us everything. And it's like, you want there to be something. It would make you feel better, right? If we had shitty lives abroad. But like
No, it's not all popcorn and lollipops. And I would
it's
say,
not.
when I talk to my guests on the show, we talk about the transformation, we talk about the journey, and not all the time, it interweaves in the conversation. People will have, like, for example, I had Paul Carrick Brunson on the podcast about 2 episodes ago, and he talked about it. And actually, the day we were recording his episode, he had just found out that the visa that he and his family were trying to apply for, uh, wasn't going to happen. And he talked about like the external things that are going on with, Ukraine, and it's impacting different countries. And actually, I wound up moderating a panel for his community, BWP Connect, yesterday, and it was because he and his family had to go to France in order to re-up their visas. Like, these are the realities, right? it's stressful. Granted, I have not done my application yet, right? But it's stressful. But even whether you're in the process as an expat or you're an aspiring expat in the process, or you're thinking through, just like I was saying, I had lost my job, and then I was like, oh my gosh, my 2023 is now 30 years out in my mind, right? And so there's going to be roadblocks and fits and starts, but depending on where you're living currently, and I'm assuming most people are in the US, I don't know how much we have to sound the alarm that the house is on fire and it's burning down,
Right.
but like, get out, get out, get up
If
in.
you don't like it, you have other
Yeah.
options.
Yeah, not everybody should go, and not
Not
everybody
everybody should
can
go.
go, right? I get
Right.
that.
Not
I get
everybody can, not everybody should. But
Yeah,
if you want out, know that there's a place for you. It might not be my place. It
correct.
might not be Krishan's place, but
No.
there's a place for, and it may not be perfect, but there's
Yes,
a place for you that's better,
there is
right?
no utopia.
Because to Krishan's point earlier, there are 195 countries. There are so many cities, right? There are so many, like, it may not even be out of the US. It may just be another city in the US. But if you don't like where you are, there is a place that's a better fit, right? There's a place that's a better fit. And it may not, your move might not happen today, but that doesn't mean your move can't happen. Krishan been putting in that work to make that move happen. And it's gonna happen. Pause. I see some of the members of my channel. Hey, YouTube members, in the comments now. Wanted to let you know, I didn't tell you before because I forgot. We're gonna go live immediately after this video. So there'll be a members only live immediately after this video. Hope to see you there.
Hey, members.
Hey, members. Remember, and you want to be here for our members only live, join.
Become a member.
There's a join button on my channel somewhere. Just click the join button. If you haven't clicked the like button yet, give it a thumbs up.
If you haven't subscribed to the Blaxit Global podcast, subscribe.
Why would you not know that?
If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel,
Why
subscribe.
why haven't you done that? Subscribe.
You'll be glad you did.
Also, since it's a commercial break, Crishan does one-on-one coaching.
Yes.
See, she does one-on-one coaching through in the global Blaxit platform. Blaxit Global. What is wrong with me today? I've been saying
Blaxit Global keeps growing, right? We keep growing.
I'm used to Blaxit Global, the podcast, but somehow Blaxit Global Passport has me saying words backwards in all kinds of funky ways. But if what Crishan is saying today is resonating with you, and I know it is, I'm gonna drop a link real quick for you to get one-on-one coaching from Crishan, because like she knows the stuff. She's working on money, all the points of money. She's working on places, all the points. She is a resource that you should be using. If that smile, look at that smile. Give us that smile, girl. Give us that big yes. I love seeing that smile. And so if you love seeing that smile too, get in there with one-on-one coaching with Crishan.
Yes.
Make it happen. Yes, motivation. It's a member is different from subscribing. You get private videos that are not open to the public. They're just open to the members. You get members only lives. Last week we did a Zoom call, like a meet and greet, and then there's some other things that you can see if you go to the join button, it tells you what to do. Yes, Monica, she does coaching. Okay, so I'm gonna say this. Generally, it's not about Crishan, it's about Crishan. But it's not just about Crishan. I feel like sometimes people who are in this space, people who are helping people, if there's like one main thing that they do, they often forget to tell you they do these other things.
Yeah.
It's not about Crishan though.
But it's me, right? And you see all the things that Blaxit Global has, right? We have the website, the podcast, the guides, the community. the
Yes.
coaching, it is Crishan.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So party of one.
Party
so,
of one.
so sometimes I always remember to say these things.
Now we say it here. We do one-on-one coaching. Tell a friend. Tell a friend. Speaking of telling a friend, we're back to commercial break. I'm at 28,000 something subscribers, and I'd like to get to 30. So friends.
I'm trying to get to 2,000.
Have y'all subscribed to Crishan's channel yet? Have y'all subscribed?
2,000.
I'm coming to take your 2,000, Crishan. I need to.
You know, I'm this YouTube stuff because as a podcaster, I mean, you've been on the show. You see me when I record, right? Half the time I'm busted in my closet. Bloop. But I'm embracing this like being out here thing.
Yes, embracing out there. All right, friends, if you get a chance, please, to your communities, share a video. If there's a video that I've created that has helped you or motivated you, or you like it, or I'm funny, or I'm talking the trash that you like, share it with your communities, please, however you can. Just share it, please. Because I'd like to hit 30,000 subscribers for no other reason than it's just a nice round number. It's just a nice round number. And Crishan would like to hit 2.
Yes.
So we gonna do
like 2,000. I aspire to get up there with you and Stephanie and Adelia with y'all big numbers. The little engine that could. I like it. I like it.
Which is weird because one day you have like I went from I think 1,000 subscribers to 15 in a blink of an eye.
Oh my gosh.
And then I went back to the pace of growth before 1,000 subscribers. Just with a little engine that could, right?
Yeah.
Just tugging along. Just tugging along. Some days I wake up and I'm like, less than yesterday, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I like a slow growth, right? I like a slow growth. It's just
a slow growth.
Right?
So there will be a time where you have an exponential growth.
Yeah.
And then you'll get back to slow growth.
Yeah.
Ask me how I know. So share videos. Share the channels we love. Share Crishan's video.
Yes. There's lots of videos on the channel. It's 60, because I put the back catalog. We're about to close the season. My finale episode is on the 22nd. I'll record it. That's the only one that I record near time. Because I have, the update. Folks want to know where I'm going. I've dropped it in the season that I'm going to Portugal, but just, a life update. I had some challenges this year from a health perspective, which is just reinforced that it's time to leave America. And, and a lot of joy. I'm in a good place right now. Now I remember where I went off on a tangent. I stopped watching the news. That's been the big thing. And it's been a little over 2 months, I think. And let me tell you, it feels good. I'm not getting any news updates. And I have a lot of devices around my house, voice assisted devices. And that was my routine. I'd know BBC, Reuters, I'm getting constant updates. Watch the World News Tonight, get up in the morning, watch Good Morning America. And I was like, you know what? To get to this goal, I got to tune it out. Mm-hmm. And so now I've limited myself to 3 websites. And probably before the end of this month, it'll be 2. Well, no, it will be 3. It will be 3. And I still know everything that's going on. I just don't need it to start my day or change my mood.
Yeah.
Or get me in a thought pattern that's not helpful for me to be.
I get all my news from Twitter.
Oh yeah, I like Twitter.
I don't go to, unless there's a story that if I see something and I'm like, I would like more information about that, I might dig into it. But otherwise I'm like, if they're not talking about it on Twitter, I don't know. Mm-hmm. And that's not, and I'm not on it all the time. And so that helps to limit it. But it's also, there was a time when I lived in Ohio, I would turn on the news every morning. And I felt like I moved out in 2016. It felt like it was good. Not not good as a value judgment on the news itself, but like it was good for me to like educate myself on what's going on. But the news has changed so much in the past 5, 6 years that it's like I don't feel like having to wade through what is actual news and what is news
Yeah.
or entertainment framed as news in order
Yeah.
to figure out what's actually going on. So
And it
I'm not
makes
really
sense, right? Think about it. The major news outlets are owned by entertainment companies, right? ABC is owned by Disney.
right.
So, and no shade to media. Like I said, I was in television. I worked for a CNN affiliate for a number of years. Many of my friends are still with different networks, and I, value the work that they do. And I am at a place in life too where I could separate the people from the machine and the system. But that was also a challenging time in my career too, because that was when the Gulf War was going on, and because I was in politics for so long and then going into that role, I had a different lens than many of my peers who were just out of school and that was their first job
Hmm.
working in the newsroom. So they were all green and, hey, this is what it says on the wire and we're just going to say it. And I'm just like, no, 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 this is a wag the dog. This is all this other stuff. And then fast forward to see where we have devolved as a society. And I just had to get to a point where I was just like, look, I got to tune it out. I contribute to, different things when news outlets reach out, and I welcome that. But I'm choiceful about what I digest and what I
Hmm.
consume now, uh, in my mind, right? Because there's a lot of mental work that needs to be done as you prepare for this journey. There's going to be a lot of threats to your well-being. And so you just have to toughen and strengthen that muscle and do everything within your power to preserve your peace, if
Right.
nothing else. Because once you are in that zone, and I think for me, even, I was in Bali, about a week and a half ago. That really was transformative. That's my last hurrah before my big move next year. And it really gave me even more perspective on why peace is the currency that is most important to me right
Okay.
now.
Um, Talk us through that a little bit. Why is it peace above anything else?
Because everything else can come and go,
Mhm.
right? Time is finite, right? Let's be clear with that, right? We don't know how long we have here. And, I'm almost halfway through my life. So, who knows, maybe even more so. So I have to be thoughtful about the time that I have left in life, what I want to accomplish and what I want to do. And so much of my time, my life has been spent um, at a state where I didn't have peace.
Mhm.
Either I didn't have peace in my home, or wasn't peace at work, been toxic employment situations that also disrupted my mental peace and my physical peace, um, from a health perspective. And so, and money, you can always make money. Money will come, money will go. It's currency, it's supposed to flow, right? But peace is something that you can create for yourself, and you have to preserve. You have to put a moat around it, and you have
Mhm.
to say, this is where I sit. And then you get to decide whether or not you come in. And that was my big aha moment, because I've traveled to other countries since I've been on this Blaxit journey, but I found a lot of peace in Bali. And I realized that the things, and I'm an introvert, right? So I tend to stay in my head a lot of times. I stay to myself. I work from home. I'm a hermit, right? I do all this stuff. I can do it at home. I don't really need to go outside except for food. And so I realized that the things that I would ruminate about when I was away on that particular trip, nothing came in my brain. And I realized I'm still me. Literally, the only thing that changed was I got on a plane and I went to the other side of the world, which I've done before, but I didn't let it in. And so I'm like, oh, you know what? It is attainable. And I've done science of mind, probably it's been a little over 10 years, started to really learn about that philosophy, read Eckhart Tolle, and there's a great series that he did with Oprah Winfrey many years ago. And I would read his stuff and I'd be like, oh, it would talk about being the awareness that's aware. And so not letting things get into your spirit and letting it go. And I never could figure out how it would work for me. I try to do mindfulness exercises and then my mind would go to something else. And it's not to say that I got to a point where I achieved that thing, but what I did achieve was the things that normally consume my mental energy did not enter my space. And so I realized that that is the thing that I want to keep at an even keel because I feel like I am my most present, which has always been a struggle for me. And I feel like I can pour now and give from my overflow. And that was something that I always struggled with.
Okay. That's good. That's amazing. So you think you're finding your pieces in Portugal?
I feel like for me, New Zealand is my happy place. And
Okay.
I never thought that I would feel that feeling in another land. And I've been to other countries since I've been to New Zealand. I felt that feeling and better in Portugal. Yes.
Okay. All right. I haven't been, but it's part of my plan for next year. Hint, 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 hint.
Why don't you come through in September?
All of us there. Hint, hint, ladies. Okay. Lisbon, you think?
Okay. Lisbon or Nazaré. Nazaré I went to Nazaré on my last full day. It was amazing. It's about an hour bus ride outside of Lisbon. I'm dancing because I love the beach. And so it's just there and it's beautiful. And there's a documentary, I think, on HBO Max on the 100-foot wave, which is what Nazaré is popular for surfers. I don't surf, I don't swim, but I love the beach. So I'm thinking there, it's very affordable, or Lisbon,
Okay.
At least to start.
All right. I like it.
Yeah.
Question for you.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to transition into this when we were talking about like the positives, but we got distracted. It's how we do. We all over the globe. All over the globe.
Guiding the conversation. So
I don't do that. We're just going to go where we go. Conversation flows where it flows. Okay. So people talk a lot about like their new lives and how much they like their new lives. Mm-hmm. And that is, I generally believe they are all telling the truth. Like you went to a place you like better, right? Like that's the only reason. That's not the only reason to move, but like if you have a choice and you can move anywhere, you choose a place you like.
Yes.
Frequently a place that someone else likes isn't going to be a place that you like. Or a place that is really popular with a lot of people isn't going to be a place that works for you. So I have had two people, one who's in this house right now, another who may be in Delaware. No, somewhere in Florida right now. There's someone in the house is now in my periphery, standing there with their hands on her hips, staring at me. I see her out of the corner of my eye.
And I heard the warning before.
Where'd she go? There.
I missed out.
She said earlier, the warning I got was, are you two going to say anything bad about Costa Rica? And I was like, probably. She said, well, not in my house. I said, okay, I'll go outside. She said, go somewhere. She said, not in my house.
Take your laptop and go.
And go. But on somebody else's Wi-Fi, if you're talking to her. Right. Now, yesterday, Stephanie was like, you guys are going to say something about Costa Rica, aren't you? And I was like, probably yes. Because we've both been to Costa Rica and did not have the most pleasant experience. Now you were looking as a place to live, and I was just on vacation.
Yeah, and I didn't know, and it was so funny. I think I was in Bali when or getting ready to leave, or maybe I was in Singapore at that point when I saw your post. You were like, Chrishan from Blaxit talking about Costa Rica, and I was like, oh Lord, where she at? Where she at?
I was in San Jose, and baby, when I tell you, y'all could not pay. If San Jose was doing what some of these other cities are doing, like will pay you to move there, I'd still be like, no, baby.
No,
baby.
no, baby, no.
Because it doesn't align with my life or what I need. Like I literally, now this is out when we're out in the internet last week when I was in San Jose in a popular neighborhood, in an upscale neighborhood. Wi-Fi just I left y'all an hour into it because the Wi-Fi was like absolutely not.
It was like why? Why?
When I was in out by Puerto Viejo, out by Limon.
Yes, that's where I was in the jungle with the howling monkeys.
Loud at 4 a.m. in
your ear.
Okay. All right. I'm just trying to watch Stephanie's video, and the internet was like, absolutely not. Like I'm not even uploading. I'm just trying to download.
I didn't have Wi-Fi issues in Puerto Viejo. I had howling monkeys in thank God for noise canceling headphones.
Did you have to sleep with them on?
I had them. There was no way I could. I was like, I couldn't sleep with them on, but for the majority of what I was trying to do, it was just better.
Okay.
Yeah, they were loud. They're loud.
They're loud
all night until the sun rises. So it would get pitch. I went in October, so it got pitch black around 4:35, about 4. So I had to be in by 3:30 just to be safe because there's no overhead lights. So I was like, okay, let me just be safe about it. And yeah, them jokers come out and they just all night.
Okay. Sonia asked if it's hard to go to Portugal if you don't, as a visit, to visit Portugal if you don't know any Portuguese. I don't get the impression that it is.
No.
There's a lot of English speakers there. Yeah.
But for me, I'm taking Portuguese lessons. Actually, I'm doing Portuguese with Carla. She is Angolan in Portuguese. Oh. So it's much easier for me to pick up the dialect, even though, that's her first language. I can hear it's spoken differently from Black Portuguese people than it is from European Portuguese people. It just, my ear can discern the sounds a little bit better. But it's a phenomenal program. And so it's been helping me get ready.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I can share a code if anybody wants. You can DM me and I'll send it over.
All right. DM Crishan or find, she's everywhere. Join Blaxit Global Passport.
Yeah.
Do some one-on-ones with Crishan. Okay. Carlene said she considered Costa Rica, went twice and thought she'd be bored there. Not for me, even though it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like it very much gave the Aretha Franklin beautiful gowns. Beautiful gowns. Right? Like,
yes.
Where is the substance? I don't know, but beautiful gowns.
No. Yeah, I got bored. I was there for 9 days. Well, it was supposed to be 10 days. But it started off, and I don't know how about your trip, but it started off with woes. Like I got on the plane in Newark and the pilot didn't show up. So
I want to go to Costa Rica today.
We were all on the plane, right? The crew, the passengers. And, Newark is like historic, where it says you're supposed to take off there. And it's usually some delay, but not like, oh, your pilot's not here. And so we're on the plane. We're like, well, we really was supposed to be in that air like 15 minutes ago. And they're like, oh, we just were told that the pilot isn't here. And he called out and no one replaced him. So we have to find a new pilot. Well, they don't just walk around and walk in the thing. Like there's a certain amount of hours.
Pilot break room in the back where they're just hanging out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You up? You want to fly to Costa Rica? You cool? Yeah. You good? Okay. No. So I'm like, well, how long has this person been in the air or what? Or, did he get enough sleep? So, of course, that meant we missed our connection because I didn't have a direct. And luckily, I come from a very big family, extended family. So my cousin was lives in Houston, so she met me, and they wouldn't give me my clothes because it was supposed to be a connected flight. So now that whole thing, I arrived. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna put you on the next flight." Now this is midday. This is like 12 o'clock. I'm like, "Oh, there's no other planes going into San Jose." No. So I'm like, "Okay, fine. When's the next one?" "Tomorrow. It'll get you there around noon." So I'm like, "Okay." Feeling fine because my shuttle's not till 2 to take me to Puerto Viejo, which is about 6 hours away. So I'm like, "Okay, fine." Land. We land early, about 10 minutes early. So I'm feeling good, right? I'm like, yes, get in the line. I didn't leave that airport till 4:15. We
I'm
were
sorry, they
in
landed at
the
what time?
immigration line for 4 hours.
Girl.
And it was only a couple of flights. There was like nowhere. It was bad. So I'm trying to text the shuttle people, let them know I'm not going to get the shuttle because now I've been in line for 2 hours and I've only moved like 2 feet, and trying to procure a new way to get in there because I had missed my other Airbnb since I arrived a day late. And so I had to hire a car at the last minute, which was even more expensive. And then it was only 143 miles from San Jose to Puerto Viejo, but yet it took 7 hours to get there.
I thought my time was a little janky, but yours was real special.
Yeah, that was so like I said, from the beginning, I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, and then the traffic, I'll spare you the woes, but the other one that was pretty memorable was, and this is October, so you still had the COVID test in order to come back into the US. So this was my first international trip since the pandemic, outside of Australia and New Zealand, because I was not pre-pandemic, but pre-lockdown. So I'm like, okay, I got a test to come back in. So I set it up and everything. They're like, oh, it's at the airport. Now I'm in a new Airbnb. Now I'm making my way out of the jungle. The 8 hours it took me to get back 143 miles, which is like insane. And now I'm a mile away from the airport. I call for an Airbnb, Uber, and Uber's illegal in Costa Rica. So every time I would call an Uber, it's like in Puerto Viejo, I used the tuk tuk, so it wasn't an issue. And then I had a car get me there. San Jose, I was like, oh, let me use the Uber. You would think it was a drug deal. It was like, wait, you called it Uber? Oh my gosh, right? People throwing the luggage in, and then because it's illegal, the police come, and they did, and they come and they look, and if they think that you are being taxied, they will seize the driver's car and impound them, 3,000 to get it out, and you are left on the side of the road. So because of where I was in proximity to the airport, they really were on high alert because they had seized 8 cars already, and then it was like a checkpoint. So I'm like, I gotta get COVID tested. Now you tell me I can't wear the mask. And I'm like, the last thing I want to do is to be stuck in Costa Rica. Like I can't. So we get, I finally, they keep canceling. So I'm like, oh. So I run. I convince this Uber driver that I called to let me in the car to take me. It was a mile away to the airport. Why did it take us 45 minutes? Now I'm late for my COVID test. So I'm like, oh my God. And do the test, right? They tell you, oh, we'll send you the results in an hour. So I'm messaging my host because I was supposed to go to another Airbnb before I left. And I'm like, I'm trying to check out, but now I'm stuck at I'm trying to get back to the Airbnb. I'm at the airport, the whole traffic thing. She's like, oh, traffic is really bad today. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, well, have somebody come in behind you. I'm like, I will get there. I didn't even bring my stuff because my appointment was at 10. It's now 12. I didn't think that it was a mile away, right?
Right.
I had an appointment. So I'm like, okay, fine. Get another taxi. Again, we're a mile or so away. But there's highways and all this other stuff. We were in traffic for an hour and 15 minutes, and we only went a quarter of a mile. And so at that point, I said to the driver, because I've taken Spanish in school. I don't, I don't remember a lot of it, but it will come back to you in high stress moments. I realize that to be true.
Some words will come, not all the words, but
Not
some of
all
them
the
will
words,
come
but you
back.
will learn how to communicate
Yes.
when you absolutely need to communicate. The
Mm-hmm.
words are gonna come. You're gonna be like, "Oh, I didn't even know I could say that." It'll come. All those other times, the Dominican salon, all of that stuff, it all floods in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, I need you to turn on your hotspot because I need to communicate to someone, and then you have to point me in the direction of where I need to go. And so I had him pull over. I gave him a couple bucks, and then I ran and got my stuff. And then, I said no. And then I went back to the airport the next day. I was like the first one at the airport. They hadn't even opened up. I was ready to go. And, the toilets aren't working because that was a whole big thing. You can't flush things. And I'm just like, you know what? I felt like I had been bamboozled. I don't know about you, but I felt like I had been bamboozled. I felt like it needed to not be buried in the fine print that you can't flush things, that
Okay.
toilets don't work.
Okay. All right. We're gonna talk about that first. Sidebar. Welcome to the membership, Monica,
Yay,
Catalina,
Monica!
and Katie, who I did a
Welcome.
little shoulder shimmy for before. Yes, Monica and Katie, welcome to the membership. I will see y'all after we go live. After this live is over, we'll have a private live in the membership. Ow, 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 ow. Okay, but I want to get back to your experience in Costa Rica. I think we can all acknowledge, Crishan included, no matter how deep in her feelings she is, that none of the things she experienced in Costa Rica were life threatening or a reason that you shouldn't move there.
No, yeah.
No.
Mm-mm.
If you hear these things and you're like, okay, then good for you. Now I'm gonna tell you. We went to 8 ATMs and were able to get money out of 2. It's just not a life I want to live. It's just not. And every ATM, so there was one bank, BAC, Bank
Yes.
I don't know, BAC.
Yeah. Yep.
Every time I went there, it was a different story. Like, no, your bank said we can't give you no money. Or like, and then eventually it'd be like, every time we did it, it stopped at a different part of the process and gave us a different thing. But at the end of the day, it was always like, no. And then we heard from someone else, like, oh no, it's payday. These ATMs not gonna have no money. Like,
Yeah.
but it was like they got paid on Friday. The ATM, we landed on a Saturday. We were still trying to take money out on Monday, and payday was Friday. Y'all don't put no money in your ATM, like, but it's not life threatening.
No.
I just don't want to live like this.
Yeah.
I don't
And
want to
there's
live
an
where I cannot
acceptance.
watch a YouTube video. Like, I woke up in the middle of the night and there was no power, and for no reason. I mean, it came like 6 hours later, like 7 a.m. It was back on. I just don't want to. It's not for me. I
Yes.
understand why people like it. I understand why some of y'all love it.
Yes.
I have never in my life gotten in. I've been in cities where Uber is not allowed, but they be Ubering anyway. I have never gotten in a car before where they're like, oh, there's a child seat in the back. We got picked up twice of 2 child seats. We realized it's to make someone, if there's more than one person, to make someone sit in the front.
Yeah. Because you
Because
don't
there's a
want to
child
give
seat.
the appearance that
Yes,
you don't know the other person.
there's a child seat in the back. And I
Yeah.
was like,
Yes.
you know what? Okay. All
Yes.
right. No money from the ATMs.
Yes.
That was one of our issues. Getting around was not convenient.
No.
It was hard for me in the neighborhoods we were in to find like big grocery stores with lots of options. Lots of small corner, like not like bodegas, but like actual grocery stores. But they had like one type of soap, and like they were that small that they had a variety of things, but it was like one type. Is it a deal breaker? No. For me, yes, but I wasn't considering living there. I was just on a vacation. And between the monkeys and the heat,
Yeah.
And walking outside of, we were in a city called Coples, which is outside of Portugal.
Yeah. Yep.
Walking around everywhere, because if you don't see a tuk-tuk, you don't see a tuk-tuk, right?
Exactly.
I walk in the heat. I was like, let me just, and the rain.
Yes.
Every day by
the rain. I had to throw away my
every day.
sneakers. Yeah.
Throw away your sneakers.
Yeah, I had to throw away my sneakers. It was bad. I couldn't even do, and everybody has what they want to do on their their scouting trip. And I have a video on our YouTube channel about like, things that you should consider on your scouting trip. For me, for Costa Rica, because I knew like it's going to be very different than the US. Can I do basic things? Because like I said, I'm pretty much a minimalist. I have a very simple lifestyle. You see no jewelry. Like I'm just plain, right? So I don't do that much. But everything was a struggle. So much so that I went to kill a bug. It was a rather large bug. And my phone was charging and I didn't realize that, and I like snapped it, and so it broke the charger. And then I'm like, ooh, I can't be in the jungle with like no phone. Okay, I know there's not gonna be an Apple store or nothing like that, right? I'm not like I've been to a lot of countries. So I'm like, okay, everyone around, right, where I go to eat, my host, everyone, right? Everyone has iPhones. It's not like they have Blackberries or the old clamshell flip phones or the old school like Saved by the Bell tank, no.
So they getting phone chargers from somewhere.
Getting a phone charger. So I'm explaining like, hey, my charger broke. Where can I get one? And they were like, oh, damn, I don't know. Wait. How y'all don't know when you all got the same thing?
You got the same phone in your hand.
Yeah, right? I know there's no Apple store, but y'all getting your phones and your accessories from somewhere, right? And so it was a whole saga to try and find one. And then, of course, at Apple, right? If you plug in something that's not officially Apple, they're like, this is bootleg. Good luck, Godspeed. You're just going to be stuck in the jungle with no phone. And so, but I got it to work. And I was just like, no, Costa Rica. That's where it came from. And my family, my mom, who I'd been nurturing on this journey, who finally got to oh yeah, definitely go. She's sitting there. My brother's telling her all of my woes, and she's like,
petty, but I'll accept it.
what moms do,
Yeah.
Serves your ass right.
Like,
you always hopping around from country to country. Can't bring yourself down to Florida.
Woo, Florida mamas. Tell you.
Well, Florida's I'm going to be the next Florida resident, so
Yeah. So I see people comments saying that like it's hard, like it's hard to live there, but I don't think that's true. I think mindset and who you are have a lot to do with it. If Crishan said my phone broke, I get a charger when I get a charger, it wouldn't have been hard, right? But you need your phone to do things. When the Wi-Fi went out, I was like, I can't even, like if I had a coaching session, if someone paid me to be online and I couldn't be online, that would be a problem.
Yes.
If you don't need Wi-Fi, it's not hard, right? If you don't need charge, if the power going out means nothing to you and you don't need charge electronics, it's not, or like, it's like, oh, my phone I'll get a charger when I get one. Or if the power goes out, I'll charge my stuff when it comes back on. It's not hard. And so I don't think that inconvenient or hard should be how we characterize the country. I think it just doesn't align with a lot of us and the lives we live in. Costa Rica does not align with the life I live.
Yes. Yeah. As a digital nomad, location independent business, needing to stay connected to my family, there's certain things. And that's when I realized, I will say this, is I did not really appreciate how much infrastructure meant to me until that trip. So
the toilets, huh?
Yeah, until it became a necessity. And so that's when I said, okay, clearly, obviously there were things on the list like, oh, Wi-Fi, but it rose in priority, which prepared me for my trip for Portugal. I will say that. And so I encourage anyone, like I said, there's 195 countries, 100, 395 countries. You'll have your short list of places that appeal to you for whatever reason, whether it be short term, long term, right? You may bop around. You may just want to go and spend half a year, whatever, however you design it, right? But you'll start to realize what your criteria is, and maybe you don't see it or feel it in that other country, or to Sheeta's earlier point, maybe it's that city, right? And maybe you like the country, but maybe you need to be in another part of it that feels right for you. But for me, I knew that Costa Rica was not it. And I had gone to several cities within it during that scouting trip. But what I took away from it was the appreciation for infrastructure because of the type of work that I do. It's important to me. So a country like Portugal, where I can easily transit. I went to Porto, which was 3 hours away. I went to Nazaré by bus. Like I did different methods of transport. There are Black-owned businesses everywhere. There are beauty supply stores, like all the things that I need from how do I just exist here? It checked all the boxes. And getting back, to the United States. And I saw there was an earlier comment about, someone who had traveled to Costa Rica, and it's not to disparage Costa Rica, but got bored. For me, I realized, I'm like, okay, I was choosing a country that was closer to the US to satisfy what my daughter, had said, and also because my mom is of age. But yes, proximity is one thing, but what am I going to do the rest of the time? And so Portugal was great because I'm like, oh, great. Now I can go to the continent, which had been on my list. And I couldn't do it because, 2020 happened. I can go to all of these countries within Europe, much more affordable than trying to do it from the US. So there were certain things that I'm like, okay, now I know I can also occupy my time. I can have the lifestyle that is an improvement on my lifestyle in the US, at a more affordable rate, and give me the wealth of life, the freedom of enjoyment that I couldn't, I'm paying too high of a price to not even have that in the States. And so now it's like, oh, I know that I can achieve that somewhere else. But just because one country doesn't work out doesn't mean you throw everything out and you're like, oh, this isn't for me. You just may need to think about it differently.
Right. And my mom she is a Costa Rica stan. She used to go to Liberia every year. And so it's not even that what doesn't resonate with with strangers might not resonate. What resonates with strangers might not resonate with you, but like my mama is like, I could live there forever, but she's moving to Mexico, but she planned on moving there years ago. And I know her, I know what she likes, and it never dawned on me that like our experiences would be so different. Things like, okay, first of all, hold on a second. Welcome, Nina. Welcome, Nina. Welcome, Nina. Okay. Hey, girl. See you after this. All right. It wasn't just that. I'm okay with island life. In Costa Rica, while not an island, the beaches feel like island life.
Yes.
But like we were trying to figure out how we were going to get to Cahuita National Park. I don't know if that's the exact name, but it's out in Cahuita. It's a national reserve, animals and stuff. Monkeys. The monkeys were throwing things at people. They were picking almonds off the trees and throwing them at people. There was a crowd just posted up.
Monkeys in Bali, because the monkeys in Bali are straight up thieves.
I did not go to the monkey park. Everyone's like, you have to go to the monkey park. They steal all your stuff. I'm like, telling me they take your shit is not marketing to me. Because I can't fight a monkey. Like, I'm like, what? What did we do? No. Anyway, so the monkeys are throwing almonds at people. There's a crowd. And me and Angel are like, okay, so vicious, angry monkeys, we hustling away from this. We don't belong here. I'm just gonna walk. We're gonna keep walking. But we were trying to figure out uh, how to get there, and it's not far, maybe a 20-minute drive. So I was like, let me look at the bus schedule. It was 11 o'clock. And apparently when we picked our place, I was like, we are right by a bus stop. So that'll be good. That'll be convenient. It'll be convenient. It was just before 11. The next bus was at 12:22. So the next bus was like an hour and a half away.
Wow.
And what does 12:22 mean when you're on island time?
Oh, yeah. It's directionally accurate.
It's directionally accurate. Sometime in the next 3 hours, a bus will probably
There
come
you
by.
go. It's.
Like I know when I go outside, I don't even check the bus schedule because I know there's either going to be a 10-minute gap between buses and then 3 buses right behind each other when I'm in Mexico City, or there's going to be a bus every 5 minutes as expected, right? Like those are my options.
Yes.
But within 10 minutes, I'm gonna have multiple bus options either way.
Mm-hmm.
In the next 90 minutes.
In
90 minutes, a bus is supposed to come. But what does supposed to mean at that time? I don't trust y'all. I don't trust y'all. So I was like, I did all this work to get us, but I was like excited because we're right by the bus stop. We'll be able to get everywhere. Nowhere. We never saw a public bus on the main street. Never saw. Was there a bus that we'd probably missed? Possibly. I never saw a bus.
It could have been. Mm-hmm.
It could have been a bus. But the fact that the only bus coming down the street wasn't going to come for an hour and a half told me what I needed to know about their public transportation system.
Non-existent. And the traffic, I didn't even, and I'm from New York City, I clearly didn't know traffic until Costa Rica. Mm-hmm. That was eye-opening. But, I hear that for people, people have been on the show and they'll say, oh, I've gone from one part to another, and they'll just get like hopper planes. But that's fine if you're a tourist.
Yeah.
But that's average everyday person is not doing that.
No. All right. It's time again.
Hey, Wanda. Hey.
Wanda. Hey. Okay. I'm glad Crishan's here because she feels it. She gets the energy.
Yeah. Well, high energy.
All right.
This is awesome.
So Sonia said that as a digital nomad, she doesn't think she could live there. And BJM responded, it's for total relaxation to unplug for electronics and social media, kind of vacation only, not for work at all. Yes, that makes sense. So we're not only talking about how you resonate with the country, but also why you're there. Like as someone with a internationally renowned podcast, global.
I didn't know that when I was, all depressed and recorded in my closet 2 years ago.
As someone who's been featured in the New York Times.
That's right.
And has press interviews. She can't be out there like, sorry, but don't worry. Sorry, my charger broke 2 days ago and I can't figure out how to get the phone.
PBS is like a girl, right? I was like, I'm gonna be traveling, but they're like, oh, okay,
So yes, and so different places are great for different things. I think that, and I met a woman who lives there, Black woman, lives there and loves it. Loves it.
Yeah, I've had people on the show. That's really where it came from. Like I had several people in different parts. Alexis was in season 1. She's in Nosara. Michael in this season, he is in Costa Rica, and actually he is in Puerto Viejo, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure. And I've had other guests in season 3. And again, they're all in different professions. They all have different needs. But for me and what I need, it just wasn't a good fit.
Mhm.
And like I said, even me going to Portugal, I'm committing to it long enough to get citizenship. But who knows, right? It's a big world. My life is changing, right? I'm getting an empty nest. I've, done a lot of work to distance myself from, work being part of my identity, right? And then in this new phase of my relationship with my children, when I went to visit my son a few months ago in Ohio, and he was working at this restaurant at the time, and they bring the food and they brought us all of this alcohol, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like because we were tasting these beers. It was a beer tasting, and I'm like, oh, that's right, you're 21 now. And I was like, our relationship has evolved, right? And this, and again, my daughter is getting ready to go off to college, and she was away at the equine program for 2 weeks while I was in Bali. And so just getting to that stage, and right, how is our relationship going to evolve? And so I am always going to be their mom, but in a different way. I become more of a counselor in a sense, right? Instead of the, oh, pick up your clothes and this type
Right.
of stuff, right? So then it's, who is Crishan when she's not all of these other things? So
Yeah.
I'm excited about continuing to learn myself, my likes, my dislikes, and pursuing the things that feed my passion and feed my purpose, which was something that I struggled with far too long in my life, and less about the things that previously defined who I thought I was.
Hmm. Okay. I like it. That's nice. Let's get back to, yeah, Francis is becoming an empty nester too. It's gonna get cold.
Hey, Francis! High five! Bam! It is a switch. I like, ooh, I still got gas in my tank. Bam, bam.
Ew, 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 ew. Okay, so we don't
Bam,
need to be
bam.
watching my
Really
girl out
late,
there in
really
Portugal. I
late.
feel it. I feel like Halisi, go ahead and keep an eye on Krishan. We don't need that.
Portugal ain't ready.
No, I can tell. I can
I'm
tell.
telling you, it's been a lot. 40, well, 49 by the time I get over there. But I'm like, woo, hey.
Mm, All right, let's talk about what you've been doing to get ready. I know that a lot of your journey has been financial.
Yeah.
Give us some of that.
Mm. Yes. So a lot of prep, and we actually had our budgeting workshop Thursday in the Blaxit Global Passport.
I'm sorry, y'all be doing budgeting workshops in there?
Yeah. Budgeting
And
workshops, accountability calls. Actually, we have our accountability call next Thursday. We have our workshop on expat taxes, financials, because that's a big thing. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in Passport. Become a member.
about to drop it in the comments.
It's definitely a different vibe and a different community than if anyone who was in our previous Facebook group. It,
How?
it,
Give us a
it
little bit
got
more about that.
our community, again, when I started this, I didn't know any expats except for my colleague, my former colleague, Marcia. So we're now 40 some odd episodes now, getting ready to record season 5. I didn't see any of this coming. The press, New York Times, all of that stuff. And so I remember when I started the group on Facebook that June, it was right before or right after my birthday in 2020. I was only talking to myself. I'm posting stuff. I'm like, oh, I wish somebody would come in. I pulled my relatives in. And then fast forward at the end of last year, we were just under like 9,000 people. And again, party of one. So I was like, okay, I know how I like to show up, and I know the kind of work that I want to. It wasn't, I wanted to create a space, right? And I was very intentional about how I wanted to serve. That was really important to me. And I didn't feel like I was serving in a way that was helpful to myself, most
Mhm.
importantly, because at the end of the day, I still have a life, a job, right? I produced a show. I'm consistent with that. And so I had to really give some thought about designing the community to support itself in a way that was sustainable, and it wasn't going to I wasn't going to get spent because I
Hmm.
was teetering. And then I had some life events that I shared at the end of last year where I lost my sister-in-law and some other things. And so I made the decision, and obviously my ego wasn't part of it because it grew to 9,000, and I cut the lights out. And I was like, okay, we're going to this community, and I wanted to have it off of Facebook. As a digital marketer, I ran digital campaigns, managed a $500 million portfolio, and it's so I know how to build brands, and I wanted to be very, very deliberate about creating a safe space. And to be honest, social media is not safe. Every conversation gets mined. No one was seeing what I was seeing on the back end with the nasty grams from Facebook slash Meta, or people being keyboard bullies, right? And all of this other stuff. And again, just being depleted. And so it was just growing and turning itself into a direction that was not helpful. And so now we have this community where we do have, like-minded people who are thoughtful, and they take it in a new direction. So it's not just all me. So some of our members, like we have book club, they're facilitating the book club, right? I don't have to be in everything. And it's having an environment so that people can take a leadership. Like Lynette, I think she might still be here, offering meditation. Someone else, oh, I'm gonna lead the book club this month. Like, that's the vision. And then now being able to offer this men's group. So that's the space that I wanted to show up. I didn't want to show up where somebody says something about, being followed by the police or whatever it is. And then Facebook saying, oh, you know what, this is a hateful comment, and now I'm going to shut you down. Right. I didn't want to deal with all the BS. So now, we are in our community, not with prying eyes, not distracted by algorithms and Facebook feeds, right? You see what you want to see, right? You follow the topics that are interesting to you. You can opt into events. There's my events. There's, like when other topics go live, I put that on the calendar. And so I just love it. I love where we are now.
Okay. Good. Good, 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 good. Is there anything that you miss about the old community?
I've met some great people in the old community. And so I can't say that I miss them because those people I keep in contact with. um, and, I'm still in other communities, right? Like as the founder of Blaxit Global, it's part of my job to have the 50,000 foot view, right? Even though I'm on my own personal journey around Portugal, I also have to keep a wider lens because some of my members, like one of our new members is moving to Thailand next month,
Hmm.
and she's 24, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, right?
Mhm.
And just being attuned to what people need. We have job boards. So I like to use we have a new member orientation and things like that. I like to now see the people, right? And be able to see the people. We get on the Zoom and find out what their interests are. They help each other, or, they might say, hey, I'm looking at, taking my skills and turning it into something, or starting a business or whatever. And now being able to put forth opportunities that are more tailored instead of being generic. So
Okay.
yes, I miss some parts, but the platform that we use, which is Mighty Networks, is so similar in terms of look and feel. It's not a learning curve
Okay.
in terms of them being to come in and find it and have a like button, and it's very similar. So I think that's what I like most about it.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. That's good to hear. Um, quick pause.
Yes.
If you are in the comments making plans to meet up in Mexico City right now, I can see you. I can see what you're doing. And I don't know how many weeks I have to keep saying, y'all can't be doing this. The next stop is going to be blocking people. Now, the first person I'm going to have to block is a moderator on this account. I don't know if I can even block her, but Adelia, Abora Sade, I see you.
Hey, Adelia.
She knows better. She knows I'm going to say it. She knows. And she's not going to stop. And I don't know. The lack of respect is truly the problem. Because I tell her, y'all have heard me say it before. If I can't come to the party, why y'all planning parties? What? What? I didn't miss the part where she mentioned me. I saw y'all planning for today, and y'all know I'm not there today. So why are you planning for next week?
Y'all should just have your own spinoff because
I don't know what's happening here. She knows I'm not in town. So why is she in my comment section? Dara, I'm gonna get on you. I'm gonna wait. You show up. You try to. I see Petco. I see coffee. I see you talking to other people. Every week I say, don't do this. And every week y'all ignore me. It's a lot. Y'all don't respect me. That's what it is. I'm going to get to blocking you. You're going to be mad.
You don't want to be blocked. No.
Crishan, you see how they do me?
I see. I'm like, wow. And Adelia said we're planning for Saturday.
Petco and this and coffee and that. Stop it. Stop it.
Now, y'all want me, y'all making me want to go to Mexico City. I've not journeyed to Mexico, but I kind of want to come.
Okay.
Just so that I can go out to a restaurant with Adelia.
Girl. Okay, so first of all.
I do. I'm like, I want to experience it. And I do.
It really be like, when the waiter comes, you just put your head down and be like, okay, she's going to be talking to this man for 45 minutes with questions. Just wait. And then her restaurant choices be on some bull anyway, child. I said I wasn't going to talk about the last one. But child, it was woo. No, the last one, legit. I got there before she did. And when she walked in, I said, you didn't look at this menu online, did you? Because she always looks at menus online, and I'm just like free balling. I show up like, whatever. I'm going to order something that's going to do what it does. I said, I know looking at this menu that you did not look at this menu online before you came, and you don't have to, but you're not going to like it. Now that you're here, you're not going to like it.
Ooh.
It was a struggle.
Oh, wow.
All right. It's that time.
November, right?
It's that time.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, Lisa, join the membership. Okay, so we're gonna go live after this, and we're gonna all have a little chitty chat. Maybe Crishan will stay.
Yeah,
maybe a little smaller, like a 10-minute wind down.
Ooh,
right? I'm looking at a bottle right here, but it's not cold.
I got a bottle of water.
Bottle of water. Need it. Okay, so this is a good question. Watching all these interviews with people from different countries make me think, I want to try that or that, but exploration can get expensive, no direction. How to narrow it down. I actually have. Give your advice, Crishan, while I look for something.
So listen to the Blaxit Global podcast. No, come up with the things criteria that you are interested in. What do you want from a destination, right? And then think about the countries that you are curious about and whether or not those countries match with your list, right? Don't try to force fit yourself somewhere. And then you can kind of map out, like, depending on what your runway is, whether it's a year, 3 years, or whatever, then you can figure out, like, oh, do I want to go and visit this place? I'll give you an example. Like I just went to Bali. I happened to do a 24-hour layover in Singapore because I also wanted to see Singapore, but I didn't want to spend the money to travel back. So I'm like, oh, I'll do a long layover. I'm not paying extra for it. Get a chance to see a country and decide whether or not I want to journey back. So there's a lot of different strategies you can use to figure it out. Go on off seasons to different places, which is more affordable, and take it from there.
Excellent advice. I last year I did a workshop on picking your perfect destinations. So this will help you narrow it down. If I can spell and type at the same time, destinations, that looks close enough.
Mm.
It's free, so you can just you can get it, put in your info, download it, and then you'll be good to go. And that'll help you kind of figure out what your priorities are as you're looking at destinations. So you definitely listen, if you have the money to go everywhere and the time or resources you need to check out every country you think about, do it. If you don't, it's time to narrow. It's time to find some way to narrow, knowing that the place you go to first doesn't need to be the place you go to last, right? Like you can go somewhere and go somewhere else.
Yes.
You want to go somewhere else? Go. I love Mexico City. I think it is the place on earth I'm supposed to be in this season. Seasons change.
Yes, very true.
The seasons change. But I also say that it's this place for me, knowing that I haven't been everywhere. So is there a better city out there for me? Maybe. I don't know. If I go somewhere and I like it more and I can live in that country, I'm going to pick up and move.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't happened yet because I've been going to places like Costa Rica and child, let me tell you.
I'm doing London in December. My daughter and I are going to a horse show. And I think that makes 11 or 12 countries in the past 5 years for me. And this is going from like never leave your house for
she be in these streets.
Like I'm a hermit. My friends know, like, if you see me like out and I come to your house maybe once a year, that's a lot.
And now you
in
Bali with these photos and the blowing. We see. All right. Do a little music dance.
Yeah. Hey.
I was doing something the other day and Mom was like, what is that? And I was like, oh no, my nieces were here and I was showing them how to twerk, but like a seated twerk. And one was 2 and I was giving her this and she was like, she was like, maybe that's not how she was showing me that like what I was doing, my seated
was
twerk.
Not twerking.
It was not a clap. She wanted clapping. And I was
okay.
And she was like, no, baby, this is how you do it. 2-year-old was like,
no.
Like this.
I posted a video of me twerking on the yacht. Called myself twerking on the yacht when we were in Bali. And my daughter saw it. She's like, Ma, you can dance.
How rude.
I know.
How rude.
I was like, oh, damn. Okay.
Like she can't be in Bali. So now what?
The queen of shade. I love my daughter. My daughter she's just like me. But she is the queen of shade. She will humble you. I don't know what you thought you was doing on that boat, but that wasn't it.
But I was in Bali and you were not. So
exactly. You had your arm up a horse's butt.
Oh wait, when you said equestrian camp, that is not at all what I thought about.
No.
It's not at all what I thought about.
Yeah, she wasn't riding. She was like giving them shots and doing ultrasounds, and she wants to do a horse equestrian, was it animal science? Yeah. Assisted therapy. So yeah.
Okay, well, yes, you had your hand up a horse's butt.
Yes.
While I was on a boat in Bali, so maybe.
Yes.
You zip your lip. Okay, it's that time again. Y'all are coming through. Monica.
Banana.
We're clearly very good dancers. I want y'all to never forget this, no matter what her daughter says. And my she's really like, girl, it's just in and out, baby. It's just she's looking at me like she's a pandemic baby, so I don't really know her.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because I've been in Mexico this whole time, and since she's been born, I've been in Mexico. So this
Wow.
was my second time seeing her, and she was like, "You slow."
Yeah, these kids today,
In and
they
out.
are quick. They are quick.
You do not appreciate my seated twerk. I'm gonna find somebody who does.
You
I have
know,
not found anyone who does, but one
no,
day.
I don't think it's in the cards for me. But who knows? Like, I think Portugal's gonna bring out a different side. I mean, a different side of me always comes out when I'm abroad.
Okay. On what side is that?
The
The
wild
wild
side.
side.
No, but it's interesting, right? Like, I don't know how to swim, but I mean, being on the boat, that's one thing. But yeah, I've been zip lining. I'm afraid of heights.
Okay.
In New Zealand, hiked the volcano, did stand up paddleboarding when Curacao, and ended up in the drink, which was hot mess. But yeah, I definitely am much more open and adventurous than I am when I'm stateside.
Okay. That's awesome. Question for you.
Yeah.
We were gonna talk about money and then we got distracted. Let's get
Oh,
back.
yeah.
Let's get back to the money. Y'all don't be out here distracting us or letting me get
Keep us
distracted.
honest. Keep us on track, because we have a good
4
time.
hours later, not talking about nothing we're supposed to talk about.
We have a good time when we get together. It'll be amazing when we are in the same room.
We're gonna be twerking on a boat, twerking on a boat, twerking on a
For
boat.
my 50th birthday, I'm gonna have a yacht party. I'm putting it out there.
And I'm inviting myself. Thank you.
You are invited.
Thank you.
What's that? 2024, right?
I felt you there. All right. Okay, so let's talk about from the time you decided that you wanted to move abroad. Give us a little bit of color about your finances and what has changed from now to then as you got yourself ready and what you did to prepare financially.
Oh, great question. So I first started with, what I was going to need for New Zealand. And that's when the journey looked different. But again, I have 2 children. So I had to think about, them in terms of their education. And then what was important to me was to make sure like my mom was okay and things like that. And so what I did, knowing that I had this runway, was I set up milestones. So it was like, okay, if I want to get to this number by this date, what do I need to do? How much do I need to save each year? I'm pretty lean in terms of my lifestyle. I don't really do much. I don't really leave the house too much. So basic expenses is pretty much that's it. I'm not like buying clothes and all that other stuff. I'm pretty plain in that regard. I spend my money on experiences, not things. And so, got rid of debt, had a sizable amount of debt many years ago when I got divorced. So got out of debt, set a savings goal, max out accounts and things like that. And then each year looking at it. So as of late in 2021, towards the end of 2021, I started trading. And for me, it was the desire to learn the skill. So I've done Terry Egioma's course, and anybody who's interested in that, you can DM me. I can send you a link. So Terry Egioma teaches people how to trade. Her program is called Trade and Travel. And for me, I wasn't starting at zero, so I had the bandwidth to like take on a new skill and know that it wasn't going to derail me financially if things didn't go the way I had wanted. So that's just been new. Because I'm so close to my journey, I've done that a lot less than I did a year ago. because getting ready for all of the stuff that I need to do in order to get to Portugal, like get my daughter in school and actually moving to Florida before I even do any of that. Um, so all of that is part of the planning. And then as of late, again, as of late, it's the timeline, which actually we're going to do a workshop next month to help folks with their timelines. So I'm transparent about how my timeline has had to shift because there have been different life events and life changes. Like we have a pandemic pup, Bailey. And so Bailey is joining me abroad. And that wasn't in the plan, right? My daughter was like, oh, my brother's not here and I want a dog. And so we have a dog. So that's an expense, right? Getting a dog from the US to another country is an expense. Inflation has gone up. That's another thing that did not foresee when I ran the math and said, oh, I can do this. We didn't have 9.1 inflation rate that we do now.
Mhm.
Um, and so it's really just taking me constantly looking at the numbers, coming up with a plan, torturing the assumptions, and then having wiggle room, right? Because things are going to happen. And so, now I'm in the stage of, okay, I already know what I've set aside for what I need to live. But now, like your first year is your most expensive year. It's I got to move to Florida. I've got all these other things that I have to do in preparation. And then again, inflation being inflation. So, how do I sharpen the plan? How do I think about inflation in the country that I'm considering? What does that number look like? Because we live in a global world. What's going on in the US trickles to other economies. Germany has a huge inflation rate. I read a report from it's Market Briefs. It's by Minority Mindset. And they said 1 in 4 Germans are skipping meals because their inflation rate is so high. So if Germany was on your list, you might need to know that, right? And
Mhm.
think about that in relation to how you're saving, how you're investing. But you can't save your way to early retirement. You can't save your way to your Blaxit. You really have to start making your money work for you. And so I make money, and those money babies make more money babies. That's what they do.
Okay. So that's what you're doing. You're creating a generation of money babies. Generations of money.
Generational wealth is my money making babies and making babies babies.
All right. Okay. And has that all been through trading?
No, no. I started off really good, but then I went off a cliff. But that was of my own doing, right? Now much better at it, but again, not trading nearly as much as I did. And I think I learned where I was. It's been almost a year, but where I started as a trader to where I am now, I've grown. I learned a lot about myself through trading, about my personality. I learned things about myself that I never knew as a trader, which
Okay.
is very different than me as an investor. So that's been the biggest insight and aha for me. And now at this new phase, like I have a accountability group. Shout out to any of them that might be watching. And so it's been helpful for me to have, a group of peers that I can learn from and we can learn together. So it's been fun.
Okay. Um, what sources are your money babies coming from?
Of income?
Yeah.
Oh, oof.
So like you said, having your money make money. So we don't even talk about your income so much, the
Mhm.
income streams, but like how is your money working for you? How are you having your money work for you at this point?
Oh, yeah. So, like right now, and again, where I was and where I am is two totally different things. And I'm still on a journey, right? I don't know everything, but every day, and this has been me for many years, and has gotten, I would say, better. I'm always digesting financial content every day. That's been
Okay.
me for the past, I'd say, probably 12, 13 years. So I constantly am consuming financial content, trying to get a better understanding of the way the world works, the way economies work, and then what does that mean for my money? But again, I don't know everything. No one does. Could not predict the first half of this year going in the way it went. But, when it happened in 2020, at that point I had a financial advisor, and I can't say I was completely advised well, but I will say there, the me today wasn't like fearful when the market went down and my portfolio, like many, took a hit. It was like, oh, things are cheaper now. Things are on sale. All right, let me go and buy. Versus in the past, when things like that have happened, I've pulled out of the market. I've done like fear-based
Mm-hmm.
reaction. And so that's what I mean. Like mindset shifts, it's really important to learn how to expand your mindset. And for me, I've started to have a lot more emotional distance from money.
Mm-hmm.
That's been the biggest change for me from last year to this year. I had a lot of emotional attachment to money, knowing that I've been a good steward and everything else, not frivolous. But I had, when I was trading, I started having a lot of emotional attachment to those losses. I mean, I had some good gains and then made bad decisions and then had some significant losses. And then I had to take a step back. And that's what I said, you have to take stock. You have to think about your mindset. And now I have a very different relationship with trading, first and foremost, a very different relationship with my investing. And also, I would say one big thing, and I don't want to lose sight of this. When I started this journey in 2017, and I came up with the number that I needed for New Zealand, in my mind, I was always thinking I would work somewhere. So I was like, oh, I'll have this pot of money and I'll be working, knowing I can't touch my money till I'm 59 and a half. And so I thought, oh, yeah, I'm great, 2023, not realizing that my money is where I can't touch it. So, and again, that's why I think consuming financial content is so important. And I found, Our Rich Journey, Amon and Christina, and I had taken their investment course. And so it was really helpful, not necessarily like the knowledge because of where I was in my financial journey, but the structuring of my accounts for this next phase was critical. And so I started to bucket things differently to where I can access money, and that will sustain me until I can touch the money that I can't touch. So that was one of the things that I think, don't I would say to people, be focused on a number, do the math, figure out how much you need to leave or sustain yourself for a period of time to give yourself some breathing room, because hell, we are still managing through a global pandemic. We all need a break. But figure out, so that you're not burning the candle at both ends, how to continue to have that money work when you're sleeping, right? Um, and to where you can have access to it, so that if you want to work, it's optional, right? One of my last jobs, the one that I left in 2019, I wanted out so bad I danced. I got the email. We were in the middle of a meeting, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm out." And I danced out the room because I just knew where I was. And so I now just don't do things that don't sit well with me, that don't feed my spirit. But that's the beauty of being deliberate and intentional and making certain sacrifices. Life is about decisions and short-term sacrifices that yield long-term gains.
Okay.
And if I can do it, you can do it.
I love that. Can you tell people what what is the financial content you've been consuming over the years? What's the financial content you're consuming now regularly?
Yes, it's very different than when I started.
I figured it might
Many,
be because
yeah,
sources, where you are changes, but also the sources that we get our news from has changed a lot in the past few years. So there's
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Because when I started this journey, much like everybody, it was like the Susie Orman, the Dave Ramseys, and that was
The Dave Ramsey's.
getting started. No shade, right? Like to
Yeah.
get started where I was, it got me started.
Mm-hmm.
Do I listen and consume and align with those today? No, I've evolved. And we should, right? Every day you get older, the person you were a year ago, it isn't the person you are today, probably, right? So now especially since I've gone through Terry's course, a lot of CNBC. That is still
Okay.
one of the outlets that I do consume content. And just through the app. I don't do the news because, like I said, I'm just very deliberate where I'm getting my information from. And then social media. So Earn Your Leisure. I watch Market Mondays, Wall Street Trapper. Love those guys. Those guys are great. Our Rich Journey has been so transformative from a financial perspective. And I remember when I found out about Amon and Christina, and I would always like look at the fire content. They would talk about Portugal, and I'd always skip those videos. And I was like, oh, Portugal, oh, skip, skip, skip. And then I was like, I think I want to move to Portugal. I don't know. It was like one of those videos of theirs I watched, and I was like, Then I'm like, oh, let me go back to Portugal content. And I started watching. I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's just so funny, like when we're I guess influencers, and then you may not digest all that person's content, but it'll be one thing that kind of puts you on either a different path or that you want to like dive deep. And so that's really how I kind of navigate. And then I listen to I also watch not don't watch the videos as much anymore, but I do get market briefs, which is done by Minority Mindset, and they have a YouTube channel as well.
Okay. Yeah, I know that one. Questions for you. So earlier, someone asked about if you have any book recommendations about mindset, and now we have a question about book recommendations for financial books. So give us your favorite mindset books. They asked about books that like kind of bring you peace or like get you in like a peaceful mindset. And that's the question. This one is just about money books. So
yeah, I got a lot of recommendations. Actually, Blaxit Global for the second year, we did our summer reading list. So the 2001 and 2021 and 22 lists are on our website. So Science of Mind has been big for me. That's been the blueprint.
Science of Mind?
Science of Mind, by Ernest Holmes. It's a big, thick book. I can't say I've read it all. It's definitely not a read. It's a lifestyle. It's about understanding your mind, understanding the universe, and for some people it might be too woo-woo. For others, it might be just what you need. So I would say for that, there is a book. I can see the book and I'm drawing a blank, but it will come to me on mindset that I really enjoyed. And then as of late, What Happened to You, which is a book on trauma. And that is by Dr. Bruce Perry and Oprah Winfrey. It came out last year. That is very, very good. That's also I think, on our book list. Financial books. Oh yeah. As of late, Cashing Out by Rich and Regular. They are awesome. I love their podcast. They're a great couple. And then Get Good with Money, which was our inaugural book club with Tiffany, the Budgetnista. And so those definitely are top of the list. And then I think anybody who's struggling with confidence and courage, Lovey Ajayi Jones' book, The Professional Troublemaker, and her podcast is good as well.
Those are great recommendations.
And I'm going to try and find that other one. There's one that I really love that I've read years ago. I think it's in our Amazon. Let's see. It'll come to me. If not, I'll send it to you later. There's another one that I really love. I can see it in my head, and I've already started packing, so it's downstairs in a box.
I get it.
Yeah, it's already downstairs in a box.
Okay. That's not what I wanted to happen. All right.
Oh, I remembered. You're redefining moments. That's what it is. I knew it was going to come.
Redefining moments.
Yeah, you're redefining that book. I love. I'll give you the moments. I'm going to give you the author.
Okay.
I think it's in the Blaxit Global by Dennis Merritt Jones. Your redefining moments, becoming who you were born to be. I love that book.
Okay.
And look, I'm a big fan because like I said, I'm frugal. I'm a big fan of using your library, right? You paid your money, get it on an audiobook, reserve it. You don't have to necessarily go to YouTube or whatever, Amazon. But many of the selections that I've shared are from Black people. So for that, I will encourage you to buy the books, right? So let's support our Black brothers and sisters. But if you want to stay frugal, get it from the library.
All right. What haven't we talked about?
I don't know. What other questions y'all got? I am here.
She is here.
Have you read 4,000 Weeks? I have not.
Ooh, I'm curious. What's that about?
Know that one. I definitely am one that consumes more audiobooks and audio content. Like when I look at my podcast download, people I listen to every week, Rich and Regular. Every week, I watch Market Mondays, EYL, Professional Troublemaker. Those like the main podcasts. Flourish in the Foreign, Black Women Travel podcasts. But I'm definitely yes, Dana. Yes, that's it. That's the answer. That is the reason. No other reason to become a Florida resident, in my opinion. Am I shipping any? No, I am not shipping anything to Portugal. Everything has to fit in 3 suitcases.
Please talk to my mama. Please talk to my mama because
yeah, I'm not shipping anything.
And I'm like,
no, my preference is to find a furnished apartment because again, where I start living isn't necessarily where I'm going to end up living forever. I just need to because if I think about it, at least right now, who knows how this is going to play out, right? But if I go to an empty apartment, I, got off the plane, got the dog, where am I asleep? There's no bed, right? There's no appliances, there's nothing. So my preference is to find a furnished apartment, right? And then I can figure out like where I want to plant myself long term. But no, I've been weeding things out of my apartment for a couple months now, probably since last year, actually, little by little. So my daughter has things that, she's outgrown or, for me, because I no longer go to an office, a lot of things either I'm consigning or selling. And I had done a big purge when I moved to where I presently live 5 years ago. So really anything I have and own is either by the time I leave going to be at least 5 or 6 years old or 15 to 20 some years. So it can go.
okay.
And, Europe, the sizes are different, right? The apartments are in meters, they're not in square feet. I won't have my king size bed probably. I mean, like in terms of replacing it with a king size bed. But I am moving my things that are sentimental to me to Florida before I move. So those things that I want to keep near and dear, those will go to Florida. And then It'll be a luggage for Bailey, the dog's food, just to get us started. A few things that I might want to keep, foods that I definitely want to keep. I wish I could get turkey bacon. That was the one thing that they don't have that I'm like, um, but a luggage for food. And then clothes. Not that many though, because I wear the same thing every day because I'm home. I wear sweatpants and t-shirt, and by the time I leave, they'll all have holes, or probably more holes than they already have now.
You said earlier that part of your original plan was to work where you went.
Hmm.
How and why did that plan change?
Yeah, it was around the time where I started Blaxit Global, and I got depressed. I think I talked about being depressed and further in the hole because, New Zealand had shut down. I mean, New Zealand literally just opened like 2 weeks ago. So I was feeling deflated. And then when I looked at, because I was, getting their updates and emails and started like, okay, I'm now within the 3 years, blah, blah. And I looked and I was too old for a work visa and too young for a retirement visa. I think a retirement visa there, you have to be like 66, I think. And by the time I do this, I'll be 49. So I'm like, ew. I mean, it doesn't mean I can't go on a tourist visa and things like that. But in terms of residency, unless I did something by investment, which is a significant amount of money. So I wasn't comfortable with that. I could look at Australia, but I had no desire, especially, I mean, granted, when my cousin and I did our trip, it was during the wildfires. And so we really didn't get a good lay of the land, but the limited amount of time, I didn't see myself living in Australia, or at least in Sydney. So that's kind of like where I wound up being with that. Sorry, I got sidetracked.
I was like, I can't tell if she's frozen or thinking, but thinking, that'll do it. At least you got a place with a king size bed, so maybe you will too. Let's see.
Do I plan on driving? No. Oh yes, Come Up series. Yes, I watched the Come Up series. So driving, I'm looking forward to getting rid of my car. I will be doing public transportation. I'm looking forward to not having a car. That's important to me. I wanted a walkable city. What else? Food, good food. Food in America is not good or good for you. You asked me about work. No. So that was a big thing for New Zealand, was working there. When I started looking at other countries, the world has changed, right? The world has changed because of the pandemic. We didn't know it was going to last as long as it has. And there's this tension, there's this fight between corporations and employees now about, hey, come back to an office, don't come back to an office. So for me, work is optional. So I think that's been the biggest change from where I was in 2020. And at the time, there were digital nomads, right, which were stereotypically speaking, people would say, oh, the barista that goes, to a different place, or, like the people that kind of bop around. But now a good part of the world populace, even in countries that weren't embracing working from home, like France, for example, where a lot of people are working remotely. So it doesn't mean that I won't work for someone else. Doesn't mean I won't consult. I mean, I do that now. I do business consulting as well. but it's optional.
Okay. All right. How long will you stay in Florida before you move to Portugal?
It's about 6 months to do residency in another state's about 180, 183 days, something like that.
Okay. So is your daughter moving down with you?
Yes. So her belongings are coming. We are moving this stuff, and then we have a couple weeks we'll be there, and then boop.
Okay. I think Janae's question, I don't know why I said her name because we broke up. But there's a woman in the comments. Her initials are JH. I think her question will be the last question. And she knows why we broke up because she can't act right in my DMs. But it's a good question. Is there anything you will do at your new home to make yourself feel more at home? Have you found in your travels anything you need? Last question for the day.
I was ready for this question because I actually wrote down on a piece of paper one thing that I'm looking most forward to, and it's silly.
Give it to us.
I actually have it on this piece of paper right here. A plant. Because I feel like every expat, think about it, every expat video y'all see on YouTube, right? I'm a consumer of content as much as I am a producer of content, right? Everybody got a plant. And y'all even sell my pictures from Bali, right? There's like the plants and all this other stuff. So I was like, you know what? I don't have any plants in my house. I have plants outside of my house, because I have the dog and I'm sensitive to what might kill her. But I'm like, I'm most looking forward to buy. I think that would be like the second thing I buy other than a bed if I have to buy a bed. I want some plants.
So I feel that deep in my soul. When I took my year to travel the world, there was a point where I was like, I just want a plant. And what it meant to me was like, I want to be in one place long enough that I feel like this is a good time for me to care for something. So when I went to Chiang Mai, planning on being there for a month, and I extended that for 3 months.
Wow.
And like on my I think the first time I went to the grocery store, I was like, what y'all, because the grocery store was right across the street, what y'all got? And I ended up with a little tiny like cup plant. Like it was a tiny little thing. But I was like, me and you, baby, we gonna be here. I was like, I need a plant.
Yes.
Where I did not have, listen, Eve said the same thing. I miss plants. When you're on the road like that, there's no room, there's no space for plants.
Hey, Eve. Eve was on the podcast. Hey, Eve. Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
And so I know that like I want to plant. My place is full of plants.
Yes.
My mama's house, because I lived here for a year, is full of plants. Now, giving up these plants, I've got this beautiful, all right, South Florida, I got this beautiful fiddly fig. It's as tall as I am. I'm gonna let y'all guess how tall that is. It's beautiful. Waiting here with nobody to take it. So holler at me if you want it.
Wow.
And you're not an absolute wackadoo.
Yeah, right.
I come from mama's house. Sorry.
Yeah, don't come crazy.
No. All right. And we gonna do a dance.
Make me want to get a membership on YouTube. What?
Okay, so members, we're going to end this call now, and in about 3 minutes, because we can get some, I need a snack. I need to swallow a banana whole. So let me go get that.
You and me both. My blood sugar is like, bloop.
So I'm going to end this call. We're going to do a members live in about, what time is it? It's 11:17. It's 1:17 here. What time is it? It's 1:17 there?
Yes.
So 1:20.
Okay.
We'll start a members live.
Get a banana.
Chrishan, don't hang up. I'm going to get a banana. Chrishan, don't hang up. We'll be right here at 1:20.
Oh, okay. I'll stay on this one.
Okay. Stay on this one. All right.
Bye, y'all.
Talk to you guys later. Bye.